Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you all for being here for today's webinar, The Future of Work, Empowering People Through AI and Intelligent Automation. My name is Arvind Kannan. I'll be a host for today's session. I have been joined by my colleague, Naveen Kumar, who will be helping in this discussion, engaging interactive throughout the webinar. A special mention to Naveen, who's VP Innovation Strategy at AI CoreSpot. AI is rapidly transforming the way organization operates, helping teams work smarter, move faster, and deliver better experience. Across industries, leaders are exploring how AI and intelligent automation can improve efficiency while enabling employees to focus on more strategic and high-value work. Today, our panel share real-world perspective on AI adoption, business impact, and balance between technology and human collaboration. Before we begin, a quick note about to all of you. For the last 5 years, AI CoreSpot have been bringing together industry leaders and technology experts through webinars, virtual events, and hybrid experience focused on AI, digital transformation, and Industry 4.0 techniques. Our goal is to create a strong knowledge sharing community through insightful discussion, videos, podcasts, blogs, industry-driven content, etc. Now, let me introduce today's speaker panel one by one. We have Russ Felker, the Chief Technology Officer at Megacorp Logistics. We have Pratyush Patel, Emerging Technology Practice Leader at Infovision, and Senior Director of Software Engineering at Hertz. And today's session will be moderated by Monica. She's the Director at Infovision. A quick disclaimer before we get started. The views shared by the speakers are the personal one and not necessarily represent the organization which they represent. With that, let's get started, and over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Arvind. Welcome, everyone. And I'm excited to be moderating today's webinar on the future of work. I think we are living through a transformational moment. AI and intelligent automation are reshaping the way we work, how organizations are creating value. And what I think is today the question is not just about can we automate this using AI, but also for today's webinar about how we can empower people and not just replace them with AI. And with that context, we have three speakers, and Arvind has already introduced them. We have only 45 minutes, so I'll jump right into the webinar. And I'll ask the first question for today. Today, the first question is all about the current state. What do you think the future of work is in your organization? We hear a lot of predictions, and what does it actually look like in the ground? I'd like to start with Russ.
Absolutely. Thanks, Monica. So I used to say not that long ago that, AI won't take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI will take your job. And I've had to modify that because while I don't think that was wrong, and at the moment I was saying it, I think it's changed. And it is that AI will, in fact, take pieces of what you think of as your job today, and will do those. And it can do those. The human element isn't going away, it's changing. And it's not that, if you don't use AI, everybody uses AI now, it seems like every day, even if you're just searching on Google, you hit AI. But we have to rethink what it means to be in different positions, what that position means, how we interact with AI agents, with the systems that we're used to doing, and what it means as we transition the more rote work and the more repetitive work that we've been doing into these agentic flows, which is an inevitability that we are currently experiencing. So the future of work is a dual purpose. It's human plus AI. It's not AI or human, it's human plus AI. And that is where jobs are going. And that's what our organization is going through right now across different types. I think one of the biggest areas hit initially is tech, but it's rolling off across all operational components.
Okay, thank you, Russ. I'm going to let Mo share the view, and then to Pratyush.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Monica. I'm happy to be here with you all. The way I view where we are and kind of the impact is I view my work is mostly on software for consumers. I think during my day-to-day, there's a set of decisions that they need to be made. And I think some decisions are, high level and critical. Some are relatively easy. And impact is limited. The way I view is the set of data that need to be acquired for as input to these decisions are largely shifted to AI. Your standard SQL, your standard dashboard reading, cross through GitHub repos, those are done by AI today, right? But the decisions are still being retained by humans. Do we go with this architecture? Do we, prioritize another project versus the rest? I think those decisions are still retained by humans and human workers. I think the debate right now is where is that line? Where do we delegate to AI and make those decisions, and what decisions are still retained by human? At the end of the day, large organizational complex decisions today is still retained by humans. Low-level decisions are done by agent or just regular Google search. The top whatever come up the top link is already done by AI, many years ago. But where the line is drawn, I think is still debatable. But the way I look at it is it's continually moving up.
Would you would you consider that more kind of the difference between, you talk about large decisions, but is it really discernment? Is it when we have to apply this combination of common sense in
Mhm.
combination with context that we're seeing that move? What have you seen? That's what
I
we're
think that
seeing. I'm just curious if you're seeing that same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is AI does not have all the data that retains in people's head. And also there are organizational complexity and
Hmm.
other pieces that the AI is not instructed to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a world where all data is feeding into one giant AI and then make decisions. But however, they come with their own risk. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think Moo, you're mentioning that point with the core difference between knowledge and information. It sounds similar to very different things, and that's exactly the case within AI as well. So completely agree on that with Russ and yourself as well. But Monica, thank you so much for that question. I think in one way that we are seeing a lot of organizations pivoting towards what's new is the future of work is predominantly towards everyone becoming some sort of a manager in some way, shape, or form. We used to all work in our own personal lane. But then AI came in. So now we can actually outsource some of the work that we do. If we have a process, rest assured that can be automated. But then there is a human intervention or there's a human in the loop for decision making, like Moo and Russ correctly mentioned. So in the future, I believe all of us will have to wear a managerial hat, not only to manage our own time, but also to manage AI's time. How can we use it more efficiently? That's, I think, one of the key things I'm seeing the need for that managerial skill, no matter what the organization is. And we work with, as InfoVision, we work with multiple different organizations with multiple different tiers. This is one common thread that I think can we can pass along. So I see a lot more human and AI collaboration in the future. And the future is a fluid term right now because what we thought is coming 2 years later is in 2 weeks, thanks to Anthropic and stuff like that. So future is a very fluid word right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the general thought process.
Yeah, no, great insights. I think Pratyush is touching upon that. Like there is the future is already here, but yes, thank you, Russ and Mo for your and Pratyush for your insights. You are all navigating, these this transformation in your individual organizations, and Pratyush, you are seeing it across organizations. I want to jump right into the implementation strategy right now and ask you, how do you decide, what to automate and what to keep human and if you can share your philosophy, some framework, some examples, that'll be great. Mo, if you want to go first, Pratyush and Russ, but it can be a
Sure. Thank,
discussion.
thank you, Monica. It's a great question. Um, I think the way I look at it is, I think at my organization, we went through a couple phases. The first phase was bottom up. It was like we
Mm.
heard this news about 3 years ago. There's something called ChatGPT is coming up. It's a little bit clunky, but it solves your problem. Um, there's concept of token, right? It's very new. So you can see in the organization some senior eng or people are more adventurous or innovative in their thinking start to play with it. It's mostly started as a grassroots. And then later on, I think it become mature and then, being adopted into the industry, then we start to see a very strongly encouraged from the senior leadership in the company. It says, hey, we got to use this. Here's the benefit. It have guardrails. We can use it safely. And then the I think the wider adoption happens when the two meets. There's enough knowledge retained in the workforce that are know how to use this, but also the leadership start to see the value and then the potential acceleration of delivery through this new revolutionized tool. Um, but it's not a straight line. You take 3 steps and then you find, as what we just discussed, the field changed so much, right? What you know as truth 6 months ago is totally the opposite now. Which model is better, what their strengths and shortcomings, how do you, in our organization, how do you use AI to, or how do you use human to validate AI's code change is correct? Because there's just so much volume coming in. So I think we're solving problems as they show up. I think that's one of the biggest challenge is we don't know. There's not a book that gives you like, here's how you do Scrum, right? There's a book, you can read it. There's plenty of material outside. Now we're all kind of exploring and finding our way.
Okay. Pratyush and then Russ.
Well, that's so in terms of the automation versus human, this is one of those fun situations where each organization is in its unique setup, it's its unique maturity in terms of data, AI adoption, the roles that they are involved in, etc. It's an intricate process, right? But the way I see it, and I see it from a personal lens, when as a consumer, what would I be okay using AI for interactions? For example, if there is something which is super straightforward and I just need to get on a call and talk to somebody to get an outcome. I'm totally fine talking to an AI for that. But the same situation, if I need a favor or if I need somebody to make an adjustment for me, I would much rather talk to a human still. I would go above and beyond to just say, talk to a representative 5 times so that I can get routed to that actual human. Why is that? Because I think there's a preference on when we need something done versus when we need a favor. I think humans can empathize a lot better, and we at least think that there's a chance of getting some wiggle room into the rules that are written. So that particular piece is what I'm kind of focusing on in this particular
Mhm.
answer. Any place, I think, where there is consumer sensitivity or there is some sort of um, empathy that is required. There's some sort of situation understanding that is required. I would still probably focus on the human aspect of things. And this is just a broad generalization, right? But if I just need to understand, hey, what's my bank status? Of course, I can check it in the app, but if I feel like going the old school route, I can still call and check. So these are a few ways I think where human in the loop is necessary, while AI can do some of these things, but at a broader level, at an organizational level, right? Not all the tasks that are being done by humans today needs to get continued. There is a lot more productivity if we tend to automate some of those tasks. So on an organizational perspective, at bigger scale, if there is an error tolerance with some of these tasks that you have to have a human in there, the compliance, because you need somebody to sign off. You cannot write it off by AI did it, too bad. There needs to be an authorization by a person that can say, yes, this has been reviewed, audited, we're good to go. Those are some of the aspects where human in the loop is needed. So while AI can take up, like Russ mentioned, bits and pieces of your work, your day-to-day workflows, the sign off should remain human. So the playbook
Yeah.
is like Mo mentioned, it's not something written in stone right now. Every organization is uniquely positioned. But to summarize it, I think human in the loop is some of the most inevitable things. And as we mature and AI grows to replace a few of these workflows, human in the loop is most definitely be useful. And like I said, as from consumers' vantage point, some things will always remain human. Again, bold statement, but
Yeah,
we'll figure
yeah.
it out.
I agree with you. I'm with Amazon and I say I need a credit for this. It's only a human can make that decision. Yes,
Right.
you have been a customer with us and you have made their payments. So yes.
AI is not going to say that. I guarantee you that.
No.
Well, hopefully it
Yeah.
doesn't. That has happened to companies that have deployed in
Okay.
earlier times than today, where customers have figured out how to get the AI to do something that it probably shouldn't have been doing because the guardrails
Mhm.
weren't there. I, when you think about what to automate, and you mentioned this, and there's been kind of the spectrum, and you talked about it, this kind of, oh, there's an AI thing. We should look at what that can do. And I think we're getting to the end of that cycle, moving into the next cycle, which is, I think, well, this is what we do as a business today.
Yep.
And there's these things that we do, and we're getting good at kind of identifying those things and putting automations that are AI backed in place to handle some of those things. And that's the second phase. And then the third phase, which I think is a little ways out still, because we got to kind of get through this next phase, is here are things that we hadn't even been able to consider that now we can do because we've answered, and we kind of think about it internally at Megacorp is right now we're answering a lot of the questions about our current business. We're not asking what could our business do. In the future, we're asking how do we do our current business more effectively, more efficiently, more consistently, and how can we use AI to do that? And I think that's where we are now. So, to tie, kind of the things we were talking about together, it's about picking those pieces, and I said earlier, that are rote or repetitive, that a person is doing, that if you really look at it, are robotic in nature. If you can find a process that looks robotic, this person does this thing with very limited discernment or very controlled discernment. In other words, I don't make real like high level decisions about this thing. Instead, I look at this piece of data, this piece of data, this piece of data. And if they say these things, I do this. If you find that process, that is an excellent one for bringing AI into it and incorporating it in. And you just find the one that you do the most. It's not that complicated. It's like, well, this one happens X amount of times a day across X amount of people. That seems like a really good place to start and go and do that thing. For us, it was outbound check calls. We're a transportation company. We have trucks moving product all over the place, and we have to call them on a regular basis because tracking stops working or any of these different things. And that has been a person. People have called out to these.
Yeah.
It's a very standard conversation, though. It's like, hey, it looks like you're here. Can you confirm that? Great. Can you confirm this piece of information? Awesome. Thanks. Hanging up. Nothing really happening there. Just basic data collection. Perfect example of a place to look at putting AI in and saying, okay, great. This is a simple, repetitive task we can have AI take care of. I can't really use RPA to do that because I need something that can actually talk to a person. So I do need that probabilistic large language model behind it. But it's a great example of something you can do to do that. I know we've probably all gotten calls, at least in the last 6 months, if you've ever made an appointment with a dentist or doctor, something like that. It's like, hey, we're just confirming that you're going to make that appointment. And it's an agent that's calling you. Again, rote, repetitive, simple data collection. And all you do is you put the guardrails in to say if they go, hey, I might need to change that. Whoop, oh, got it. Let me get you to a person. Understood. And you move them right off into the more, as you were talking about, the more human-centric flow.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. This has been great. Russ, you have experience in scaling AI implementations in complex supply chain operations. And this question was more to you, but I would like to hear everybody's thoughts on what is your approach to scaling, whether it is pilot first or, you want to just move faster, just get
Yeah,
started with it.
absolutely. So we don't use the P word here at Megacorp. We don't say pilot.
Okay.
Pilot always feels to me like you're just testing it out. You're like dipping a toe in the water. You're not really, there's not a deal of intention behind it or anything like that. Uh, what we use is the crawl, walk, run approach. So when we find something, and this is a great example, the one I was just talking about, we found this repetitive action that we needed people to do, and we say, hey, AI looks like it really fit well here. We want to automate that using AI as a core component of that automation. We didn't say, well, we're going to pilot it, we're going to test it out. We're like, we need 2 teams. Who's up? Who's going in all in on this? What do you need? We found a couple of teams. One of them had a big expansion from their customer. They were going to have to add a bunch of people if they couldn't automate some of these things. They're like, we're in. Like, great, you're coming in first. And they're the ones that we worked through it with. We adjusted, we tweaked, we got it to where it needed to be able to then say, okay, we crawled, let's get up off the floor. I'm going to walk a little bit now. Starting putting more teams on it, getting more feedback, adjusting things as we get those teams on. And now we're at the point of rolling it out company wide. But that crawl, walk, run approach to us feels more intentional. It's not that we're testing this out. It's not that we're going to pull it back. This is the direction we're going. And we're going to start slow so that we learn and so that everybody learns together. But the intent is that we always move to walk and always move to run, not the pilot concept, which is why things stay in pilot stage so often, is because it's like there's not this intentionality behind the deployment. So that's
I
how
so agree
we've
with you.
addressed it organizationally.
No, yeah, no, but that's a good insight, crawl, walk, run. I'm hoping the audience is making notes, but I'm taking notes. Moo, your insights.
Yeah, I think we are similar. I think the organization, I think we wanted to do a pilot, to be honest, when we started, but then because there's so much passion and willingness to adopt from all different teams, so we basically said, okay, well, instead of one team pilot, let's just all start to figure out this together. Um, and because each team is different, the software stack they work on is different, the exposure to customer or risk is all different. So they pick their own strategy for, let's say, crawl, right? For consumer direct, we say, okay, the impact is potentially high. Let's do a lot slower crawl, right? We put more guardrails around it. If you are saying, hey, I'm doing data analyst analyzing data on a data lake, you can't really break anything because it's not meant to be broken. Is at least if you get a wrong query, the worst is you wait for an extra 10 minutes. Um,
Right.
then just go, right? Just throw all tokens at it, have at it, make new UI is all internal, just have at it, right? So the strategy for different team is different. And I think we are, this quarter is really just the crawl stage, and some are actually running already, depending on their product surface and then constraint. Um, but the adoption is definitely more, um, there's more passion in adoption, let's call it that way, from the teams. I don't have to go and, coach each team to say, let's do this, let's do this. They all say, I want this, give me the tokens or give me access. So that's how
That's
I would describe, our
that's such a
Yeah,
approach.
blessing. Moo.
yeah.
Yeah, that
That
sounds so
bottom
good.
up excitement is something that it's a blessing, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But point
Satish.
well said. I think thank you. I think Russ and Mo, you are mentioning the crawl, walk, and run approach. I would like to say a few things on the consultation side, where how we approach some of these situations, because um, as InfoVision, we come into different teams and we own some of these processes. Now, we may or may not have the full picture of how the entire organization operates. So, our approach is whatever our reality is, the ground reality is, we try and make something, and I'm still going to use the P word, the pilot, but that is
Keyword.
specifically for the
Dude,
internal
yeah.
teams.
I know it's very alliteratory for you, given your name. So I get it. You still like tea.
There you go. I have, by the way, I have three P's in my name. All
I
the initials.
see. I get it. I can't take that
So
away
I'm
from you.
sorry, I'm gonna use it. But the way we function is the internal teams, the business teams, they will focus on making a workable prototype with some of the key KPIs that they need to track. The ROI change, the adaption, the accuracy of the outcomes. This is all focused to the internal teams. We are not rolling it out to the customer just yet. But when we see promise, we start seeing some of the issues that come across. So it's always internal first. Let the internal teams do the testing. Let the internal teams face some of the challenges, and then the same framework gets rolled out to the customer. So it's twofold, two-phased approach. Definitely, it has the essence of crawl, walk, and run. But the first thing that happens is to get the stakeholders buy-in because of the situations in different companies. There are many different aspects to consider, and one of those would be how mature the overall stack is when it comes to the production environment. So in those cases, internal, and yes, we do get in sometimes, we do get in POC purgatory where we try and solve a problem. It is working efficiently, but can we productionize? Probably not. So those are the two situations, but this is the scaling approach that we usually have to work with in different companies. Of course, we also focus on crawl, walk, and run. But what has worked on a smaller teams with limited access and limited visibility into the business side, these approaches has seen significant traction. So pilot and then immediately try and roll it out to a smaller group and then wide scale adoption. So.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, great insights. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm so Mo, since you have been doing, leading the transformation, technical and operational transformation at one of the largest mobility, the Hertz. This question was more for you, and I would like to hear everybody's thoughts. Is how did, and it's a good segue as well. You touched upon it in your previous answer, is how do you prepare your workforce? And how do you handle any fear or any resistance that they may have?
That's a great question. I think the way I look at management or leadership, I look at myself as an enabler. It's like, okay, what do you need to be successful, right? You need the set of tools. You need, for AI, you need a set of tokens. And I prepare my team and tell them ahead of time what could go wrong. And then so that they can think about it. And then, whatever they decide to do has already, steps to prevent that worst outcome from happening. Um, but also, I think what I do is learn it first. So whatever I ask my team to do, I've at least tried it, either through personal experience or go to, some study program or just, my reading. I kind of see how it can work. So that and then I have a few experiences where I just get my hands dirty. I do a prototype. It's like, this is the output. It's about, 80% right, but I can't make this to a full-fledged product or something more reliable. Now you can see the future is there, build it yourself, right? I think that is a very interesting formula. It gave a psychological safety for your team. The leader have done it, so it's okay to try, but also give them a bit more into what the final product will look like, so they can visualize it and know there are things that can make this happen. But exactly the technology, the stack you use, I mean, you guys have to choose and then figure it out. But at least there is a way to do it, and it's possible. A lot of times people don't believe or can't visualize what success look like, and then they can't go over that mental blocker to believe this can happen. Right? But once it's demonstrated, it's a lot easier, right? I mean, there's an old saying that the first person, sail across the globe is hard.
Mhm.
The second person is a bit easier, right? And then now is a common knowledge that that can be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Pratyush.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the way I see it is the attitude versus aptitude. It's two different
Mm.
aspects, and everyone in the different teams they have that, right? So I think what Moo mentioned is best case scenario on some of the team members that he mentioned. Everyone's super excited about AI and they're requesting tokens proactively. That's awesome. But the way we have seen in different organizations, there is certain stigma around AI that no matter how well they think they prompt, the outcome is just not enough. We have seen otherwise. We have certain thoughts and opinions on how things can be made better. But because of some of those preconceived notions or half-baked knowledge that they have tried some of these things with, it has become a stigma. So the what we have seen really work is show and lead with example. Mo mentioned it right really nicely. The leader from a top-down approach. What we tend to do is we socialize some of the use cases and case studies that organization-wide, different organizations, how they have solved certain problems. We work with actual numbers and said, this was the challenge, very similar to what you are facing right now. These were the team members, 3 people, and they solved this problem with X amount of efficiency, and this is the playbook to repeat on your side. What do you think? Let them use that playbook. Let them repeat and say, come back. Hey, this works for us, but there are 6 things that we need to fix. Now, the Center of Excellence gets involved and help them fix those 6 things. So this is how we have been approaching to this. So it's more towards socializing the outcomes rather than the art of possible, and then using those outcomes to drive innovation or drive change within the organization. And of course, there's usually resistance when it comes to the outcome, the expectation, because there we have been following Scrum for a bit of time, but there was a time where there was no Scrum. Scrum didn't exist, and at that time, from getting people to not using Scrum to using Scrum, that was a challenge. I think we are in a very similar phase where there are status quos on how work is done today, and there are certain people who have been ahead of the curve and trying to see how things can be done better. So that we are in that phase in my eyes right now, where some people are yet to see what kind of the art of possible is there and actually use it towards their advantage. So it's I think it's a common problem in a lot of organizations, and the best way to showcase is in my opinion is show the outcomes and then lead the other teams to kind of simulate the same thing on their side.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the strategies that you guys are talking about are things that we employ too. I'll say something maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit controversial here. So feel free to disagree with me if you do. But there's a lot of expressions that have hit on this, but the bottom line is we hired people for decades now to do work in a certain way. We interviewed for that capability. We trained to that capability. We have groomed people to be able to work in a particular style and method. Not everybody is going to be able to make that change. That's just a reality of where we are today. We can provide case studies. We can do things like that. That to me speaks more to the executive buy-in of the direction more than somebody who has been, moving data back and forth between 2 screens for the last 10 years. They don't care about those things. What they care about is I've been doing this job this way, and now you're telling me that AI can do this job for me. I mean, let's be fair, RPA could do that job for you in the 2010s, but that is the real challenge. And that is the real fear. And it's not an illegitimate fear that people working in organizations hold today. and it is not unreasonable for them to hold that fear, and it is something that we can provide opportunity, and we can provide for the ability, or not ability, that's probably overstating it, but we can provide the environment where those who are willing and able, you mentioned attitude and aptitude, willing and able is how I would describe that, can in fact take that step and move into an AI-driven function. Not everybody is going to be willing to do that, and not everybody's going to be able to do that. And for years after Netflix came out, there were still video stores everywhere. This is not something that's going to eliminate all of these types of positions overnight by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a sea change in how we think about work. And I'll just give you a very personal example from my house. We encouraged all 3 of our children to go into the trades. There were reasons behind that. AI is one of them. So
Yeah.
I have one
Yeah.
child that's a plumber. I have another that's a mechanic. They have a physical moat that has yet to be breached around their ability to earn income. And that moat around workers that work in knowledge-based jobs, digital-based jobs, is narrowing by the second for them to be able to maintain their mechanism. Now, I do agree with a lot of things you said. Everybody's going to be a manager of some sort, things like that. But there's a reason that there are a lot less managers than there are executors in today's society. Not everybody has that capability set. And I think we have to recognize that when we're talking to our organizations and even societally about the impacts of this technology, and come up with strategies to help deal with that in varying ways that go, I think, well beyond the 4 walls of anybody's organization.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I'll just, I just want to move now, the segue into the future and the challenges. What is it? And I'm going to start with Pratyush for this one. What do you think the workplace will look like in the future? What are the risks or challenges that we are not talking about today? Pratyush.
Okay, so the future question goes to me. Okay.
And I just want to highlight that we have about like 6 or 7 minutes.
Whatever your prediction is, we're just going to go with that.
There you go. So, like I said, the future right now. Well, here's the thing, right? Nobody can predict the future, and like I said earlier, future is just it's fluid right now. What we thought is possible in 2-3 years, maybe it's done in 2 to 3 months. All good, but now how do you predict that some of those changes will take shape in there? So for product-based companies, I think Russ answered it pretty nicely. 3 phases. There's one, what has been possible. So, just catch up with AI, first thing. Second, what can our organization do today without even looking at the phase 3, which is what else can we look into? So I think we are in the second phase. Russ currently mentioned it. The third aspect is where I think there are things that are changing so rapidly that some of the organizations are trying to look at things in 2 different ways. One, what is the cutting edge? They have a center of excellence, or the focus that is totally future driven. What's the future look like? What are some of the technologies that are changing? What are some new research papers that are coming in? How can we capitalize on that? How can we use that to solve some of our problems? That's one view on that. The second one is the existing aspect, phase 2, like Russ defined it. What can we solve some of these things with today, right now, in our existing business model? So the way I see it is a lot of that phase 2 is going to take a bit of time, because not all organizations are ready with the data. Not all organizations are capable of scaling with the way the current data is situated, the way current maturity and some of the other aspects that are there. But there will be, in 5 to 6 years, give or take, most of the organizations would have came across that hurdle. And now there are certain organizations. I'll name one as a consumer, Spotify. Been using that for 8 years. They have no business in crafting custom workouts for me. However, based on some of the playlists and based on my preferences, my age, they were able to tell me, hey, we can make you a custom workout session playlist. So, what kind of workouts do you do? This is basically collecting information about what kind of workout informations I do, what kind of things. They know what my playlists are named. One of them is named workouts, and there is a particular type of genre of music that is in there. Based on that, they can guesstimate and make some of those changes. Like, hey, you may like these 7 different songs. Now that's looking towards the phase three. That means they already have a DJ over there, which I can just start and say, hey, I need you to give me something high energy for heat workout. It will craft a custom playlist on the fly for me. They have done that like 6 months ago. Now they're on to the next stage. They might even, so I wouldn't be surprised if they would come back and say, here's our fitness app, which actually visualizes all the fitness workouts that you can do. Or here's the video shorts from certain famous influencers. These are the workouts that you should be doing. That's where I see a lot of these things are coming towards. So people and the companies utilizing their existing data to further refine and push it a lot better. Google is doing it. And so in the recent ones, they mentioned that if you were to learn how to ride a bike, or if you were to learn how to, plant, this is a real use case, by the way, plant avocado, or how do you grow avocado tree, basically. When you ask that, it not only gives you instructions, but now it can give you a list of different shorts from Google Shorts, YouTube. They're connecting those dots. And now they can give me the list of videos by certain influencers and show me how to do that in under 10 seconds. So they are using their data to make things better. I think that's how the future is going to look like. Things are going to become a lot more convenient for a lot of these product-based companies. And on the service side, things are going to become a lot more efficient and a lot more robust. Like there's less amount of people working on more work. That's how I foresee it. But I know 6 minutes, I
Thank you.
think I took it
Yeah.
all. So please, back to you now.
Yeah. Thank you, Pratyush. Now, I think we will go to the questions and answers from the audience, and I will address it to Russ and Mo. So, first question is: as we continue to see layoffs happening across industries along with the rise of AI, how can organizations balance automation with protecting jobs and keeping employees confident about their future? Mo, do you want to take a shot?
Yeah. So I look at it from a kind of asset allocation perspective from both industries and companies. We see this massive build out on AI infrastructure, data centers. I think everybody knows that. I think those are coming from demand or asset allocation from right the Anthropic, the OpenAI of the world, but also come from they are companies, enterprise willing to pay for the tokens that they generate. So I see a shift in terms of asset allocation from humans to increase output to more allocation to AI or tokens to generate more output. And I think the layoffs right now we're seeing in industry, some are adjusted to or attributed to the post-COVID
Yeah.
hiring. Some probably is, this shift in terms of asset allocation. I think that's a reality that everybody in the workforce has to respond and figure out what to do.
Okay.
I think
Thank you.
build your own capability, become an expert in what you do, build out that moat, right? Whatever that
Domain
moat is,
expertise, right?
being an expert, I think that's the way to, at least from my perspective, how to handle this.
Yeah, and I think
Thank you. Thank you for.
yeah, I think a big piece of that though is if anybody is going through and doing layoffs, and Klarna is the example I'll throw out there just because it was so publicized, they are making a serious mistake. There is AI is a technology. Can anybody tell me any technology that at some point didn't go down? No, you can't, because they all go down at some point. If you lay off people because AI has made them more productive, all you are doing is setting yourself up for failing your customers the instant that technology becomes unavailable for any period of time. It's that simple. If you don't have backup and you don't keep the capabilities that you've built over time, we actually, so I mentioned this whole thing with the calling out, we actually increased our 24/7 team when we did that. We didn't replace anyone with it. We used it to be able to provide better service, but we actually had to increase our team because we went up in volume as well. Now, we didn't have to increase it as much as we had to in the past for the same level of volume increase. And that's where you can actually get those longer term savings, future cost avoidance. But it is not about getting rid of people or scaling down an organization dramatically. It is about bringing technology in to scale people up while leaving them there to be able to adequately support your customers and your teams when the technology fails, which it will.
Yes,
And
doing more. Yeah, thank you.
Russ, that's an excellent point there because there is the notion of also in product-based companies as well. There's a big notion of, the backlog. There's endless backlog that is out there. It's not that there's only this much work that everyone has to do, and once that's done, well, you don't have any more work. It's never like that. There's always things in backlog. There's always things to improve. There's always things to make better. How quickly can we scoop that and put it into the front? That should be the focus. Also, I think Jensen Huang says that, well, there's going to be three types of companies. Number one, they're going to see certain amount of productivity gains by AI and lay off parts of people who used to do that job. There will be companies who are going to keep the same amount of people and do a little bit more work out of that, maybe 20-30% productivities. Or, like you mentioned, there will be people who will be adding a few more roles, increasing their team sizes to do a lot more amount of work. That's where the real scaling is going to happen and real advantages of AI is going to happen because you see what's possible. And what Russ mentioned, I think it adds a flavor to that. If and when it fails, you have the ground base to cover that flaws that some of the technologies, well, all of the technologies has. So it should be ideal that way. So yeah, I think this two ties pretty nicely. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you. We have one more question, but I believe that's been answered already. So I'm just going to get to the closing right now because I can see Arvind giving me this look of like it's so we have overshot the time.
Yeah,
So
he's not like holding up cards yet, but yeah, there's a hook coming. So
thank you. Yeah. But thank you, Russ. Thank you, Mo and Pratyush for your insights. It was really helpful. I'm sure that this was also a very engaging webinar. I really enjoyed hearing your perspectives. I think the future of work is evolving. We have to, and the way we empower people. I think we got some great insights there. So it's all about empowering, not replacing, and also about evolving our skill set to match the current time. I think I have completed all from a webinar perspective. All the questions. One more question, but I think it's covered already. Arvind, I'll hand it back to you.
Sure. Thank you, Monica, Russ, Pratyush, Mo, for sharing the insightful thoughts today. So we truly appreciate your taking your time and share your valuable experience with our audience. Before I conclude, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our community partners, speakers, and all our attendees for enriching knowledge through this forum. With your presence and participation, our panel speakers have shared insightful thoughts and have made this webinar a truly valuable experience. And today's webinar was broadcasted live in our LinkedIn page, and it will put up in our YouTube channel shortly. And the recording will be available after this session. So please visit our website, aicourspot.io, and follow us on social media for upcoming knowledge sharing sessions, and that will expand your horizon. I would also like to thank our knowledge and innovation partner, InfoVision, and our technology partner, Digit7, for their significant contribution towards making this webinar a huge success. To learn more about InfoVision and their technological advancement, please visit their website, infovision.com. Once again, thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.
thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ.